this is a deliberate way to manipulate the market. He wants to slow down the economy just to force the Feds to reduce interest rates. And beyond that, he wants to also trigger a recession scare because there are lots of conversations around the fact that we're most likely going to experience recession. And all of this is an economic war between China and the US. What does that mean for you as an African and even in the world at large? When two elephants are fighting, the grass suffers. US tariff. Those are the conversations right now in global economy. What does that mean for you as an African and even in the world at large? You're going to find out about that on this video. And also, how does it affect you as a Nigerian? 14% tariff slammed on Nigeria. Beyond that, 10% tariff across the rest of the world, back and forth between US and China, 84% tariff on China, China retaliating with 124% tariff, US further increasing the tariff to 145. What does this mean for emerging economies? You're going to find out about that on this video. Is it all about power tussle, politics, or global dominance? Tariffs is the biggest conversation in global economy as we speak. So take for instance, let's say you sell phones and I sell chargers. We both have an agreement that we're both going to give each other referrals. You will give me some referrals, I would give you some referrals. And at the end of a certain period of time, we check our books and I've seen that I've given you 10 referrals and you've not given me any in return, meaning that I have referral surplus of 10 and you have referral deficit of minus 10. And that's the basic conversation. So the US feels like they are being gamed. They're the bedrock for free markets across the world. And this is it. So the US is the world's biggest consumer of goods across the world. They buy everything from everyone. And then they feel that they are being gamed. About 30% of global consumption comes from the US. And now they're trying to renegotiate global trade. And now they want to bring back production, bring back power, and bring back money to the US. Think about it this way. Tariffs is like tax that is being put on imported goods coming in to a particular country. And that's what the US is doing at this point in time. Some people are of the opinion that this is a deliberate way to manipulate the market. They are saying that he wants to slow down the economy just to force the Feds to reduce interest rates. And beyond that, he wants to also trigger a recession scare because there are lots of conversations around the fact that we're most likely going to experience recession. And you know what recession is? When we have 2 consecutive negative GDP numbers across the world. But it looks like that is what the world is about to experience. But apparently, all of this is an economic war between China and the US. And now this will take me back to my explanation of me having to sell chargers and you having to sell phones. So I've given you 10 referrals and you've not given me any. So imagine that I have trade surplus of 10 based on that spreadsheet, and then you have trade deficit of minus 10 based on that same spreadsheet. So let's take a look at what is happening with global trade. Based on the numbers, we're seeing that US has nothing less than $1.1 trillion trade deficits, meaning that they've given more referrals than they've received. And then the next is the UK. The UK has facilitated trade with most countries around the world having a trade deficit of $270 billion. And then we have India, $240 billion. Those are the top 3 countries leading the rank as regards trade deficit. Let's go to trade surplus. Those who have literally gamed the rest of the world. China is sitting at the top of this chart, having trade surplus of nothing less than $823 billion, meaning they have sold more to the rest of the world than they have bought from the rest of the world. So imagine that. And then the US feels like they are being cheated. The next on the list as regards trade surplus would shock you. It's actually Germany. Germany has $225 billion as regards trade surplus. And then we have Russia, $125 billion as regards trade surplus. So the US feels cheated. And you know Donald Trump's mandate, America first, in all he does. That's why it looks like all his policies seems selfish. But hey, if you had to be in his shoes, think about it. If you feel cheated, if I've given you way more referrals than you've given me, won't you want to amend the agreement? And that's what is happening right now. But in the midst of all of this, where does Nigeria lies? Now you understand that Nigeria is an oil trading economy. And as an oil dominant economy, you know that one of our biggest cash cow is oil. Now, right now, the price of oil based on the chaos in the global market is $60 per barrel. As a matter of fact, it dropped to even $59 per barrel with tariffs in the midst of all this global chaos. And knowing fully well that one of Nigeria's biggest trade partner as regards crude oil is the United States of America. And as a matter of fact, US has trade deficit of $1.5 billion with Nigeria, meaning they have bought more from Nigeria than Nigeria has bought from them. Look at it this way. Based on 2024 numbers, Nigeria's export to the US was about $5.7 billion, meaning what the US has bought from us, $5.7 billion. But guess what we have bought from the US? About $4.2 billion. Now do the math. That's a deficit of about $1.5 billion. And that's why you're seeing the US slamming us with about 14% tariff. And they are saying that they feel gamed, that they have patronized us way more than we have patronized them. But this is the bigger picture. The price of oil will come down, meaning that the price of oil is coming down and our oil benchmark is $75 per barrel. And what this means is the fact that we now have to find a way to increase our production, because our oil benchmark as regards production is 1.7 million barrels, meaning that we should be able to increase our production to way more than 1.7 million barrels per day. We should be looking at about 2 million or even 2.2 million barrels per day for us to be able to meet up with our oil revenue. Because, hey, the price is now down $60 per barrel, and that will put our revenue at risk. Here is another twist. If the price of oil comes down, it has a direct impact, positive impact in the lives of Nigerians. Remember that oil subsidy has been taken off crude. And if oil subsidy has been taken off crude, oil subsidy has been taken off fuel. And if oil subsidy has been taken off fuel, it means that whatever happens in the global economy has a direct impact in the price of fuel from the petrol station, meaning that you're most likely going to be buying fuel at a cheaper rate. And that's what Nigerians want to hear. Nigerians are not interested whether the government gets more revenues, because if the government even makes more revenue from the price of oil, we're not feeling it. It's not directly impacting Nigerians. The transmission mechanism from oil, it's not really as fast. It's not really direct. And that's why it looks like Nigerians care less about the price of oil going up. It favors Nigerians if the price of oil comes down. And it looks like that is what is really happening. And so there's been a lot of back and forth. And Nigeria being put in the middle, emerging markets also being put in the middle, because two countries are experiencing economic war. Back and forth, 145 tariff slammed on China. China retaliating, coming with 185. It's been an entire mess in the global economy. But then, just like I always say, we're seeing the markets bleeding, the stocks, the equities market, all the market literally drilling for oil. And just like I always say, the people who make the most from investment are those who stay true to compound interest, who think investment as a long-term game. And so this is not the time for you to be scared about what is happening in the market, but just stay true to data, stay true to information, and stay true to playing the long-term game. I would love to hear from you. What do you think about tariffs and all of this between the US and China? Tell me in the comment section. Do you think that it's an economic war, or you think that is a race for global dominance? Tell me in the comment section. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Cheers.